welcome to Declutter Me. This is episode 45.
Woohoo! Hi, Shirag.
We're really counting down everyone until 50, aren't we?
Yep, we are.
How are you, Shalina?
I'm good. How are you doing?
A little better. Still recovering from my glorious man flu.
Man flu. So we had sad news last week.
We did.
With Karl Largerfield passing away. A controversial figure, but a genius designer. I was a big fan of his in Chanel and Fendi. So a bit sad. And I'm sure a lot of my clients and followers were as well, because they have a lot of his clothes and handbags. And
yeah, so a lot of outpouring of grief.
there was. And I know people who knew him, and they were talking about it as well. So it was very sad. Sad times. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about designer clothing. And especially because last week as well, I was working on a very big walk-in closet full of beautiful pieces of clothing. And I thought, I'm organizing it and making sure that it's looked after. But does everybody know how to look after these pieces? Because they're pieces. They're not just throwaway clothes. They're expensive pieces, and sometimes of art, especially the haute couture that is made and that I handle sometimes. So yeah, I thought let's talk about that today. So it'll be fun for you, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. All of this stuff is always fun for me.
So first of all, let's talk about washing clothes. You're not supposed to wash all your clothes every time you wear it, because then it disintegrates and falls apart the more you wash it. And some people think that they've worn a item once, they have to put it in the washing machine, or they have to send it for the dry cleaners, and that's not the case. When you have designer clothes, you have to store them in the right way in the wardrobe. So a major part of that is the hangers. So a lot of people use terrible hangers, especially those wire hangers that you get from dry cleaners, which I despise so much. The clothes fall off them. They lose their shape because of those hangers. They are the worst things ever. As soon as they come into my house, those hangers from the dry cleaners, I take the clothes off them, give back the hangers to the dry cleaners, and then change them to the velvet hangers that I have. And they are the best investment you will ever have. And now you can get velvet coat hangers as well to store, your blazers, your coats, the heavy dresses, with embroidery that you might get, especially the designer ones. Everything else can be hung on these thin velvet ones, and they don't take up much space as well, because the main thing is that you're supposed to see the clothes in your wardrobe and not see the hangers. A lot of people use the wooden hangers for t-shirts and for dresses, and it doesn't make sense. They take up so much space, and they make they loosen up your clothes as well. So use the right hangers for the right clothes. The ones with the clips for the trousers and skirts. A lot of people buy leather. When you buy designer items, they might have leather with them, and even leather shoes. You have to look after them in a special way. If there is slight marks, just use water and a mild soap and then just dry it. I usually put the stuff out on the balcony for a short while so it dries very quickly. You can use a leather conditioner, which is a good way to look after leather, and especially for leather trousers. With leather and also these natural items, a lot of them might need specialist care. So take them to a leather shop. So that links us swiftly to handbags, because most of them are made of leather, unless you buy vegan ones which are not made of leather, which I know you are a big advocate for.
Hashtag cruelty free.
A lot of people have nice bags, designer bags. There's a special way to look after them. So there are different schools of thought. I have my bags in a specific cupboard for them. I've taken them out of their cloth bags so that I can easily see what bags I have. Some people like keeping them in the cloth bags so that they protect the bags. It just depends on what's your preference and whether you leave them outside or you leave them in a cupboard. I want to visually see the bags, so what I do is put the cloth bags inside those handbags to retain the shape, and get some more cloth bags or acid-free paper. You put that inside the bag and that will retain the shape as well. So that's an important thing to do with your handbags. And when you have marks or they're dirty or scratch, take it to a specialist. So there's various specialists in Dubai and also in various other places around the world you can go to give your handbags, and they will fix it, change the colour, remove the scratches, clean them inside and outside. With me, I'm very particular about how to look after my bags because I love them. They're an investment. I have seen bags which have been full of makeup and sweets and toys and blah, 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 day-to-day life, which is great. But I would say, please don't put foundation in your designer handbags. Don't ruin the handbags, or put them in a makeup bag inside your handbag. Look after your handbags, and then it'll mean that you don't have to take them to a specialist to get them clean. So that's very important for your handbags. With your leather shoes for men and even for women, like you have your formal shoes or you're going out as shoes, keep them in with those shoe trees. Put them inside to keep them in shape. With your boots, put the stuffing that you got with the boots when you bought them, put them in there when you're not using it, and it retains the shape and makes sure it doesn't flop in your storage. And I stuff paper inside some of the shoes, and it also helps to loosen it up when you're not wearing it so that it doesn't stay tight.
It's also useful when you're traveling with them.
Yes, and I keep all the shoe bags, so I take put the shoes in the shoe bag. I take them out, so once again, so I can visually see the shoes quickly, because with me, I want to see everything and pick something out within 5 seconds, so I don't want it to be covered in a bag, because otherwise you have to go through each bag, open it up to see what the shoe is, and if you got a lot of shoes or a lot of bags, that's a pain, so we want to make it as quick as possible. So if they're in a cupboard, or especially a shoe cupboard where you can easily open it up and see the shoes, that's fine. Keep the shoe bags nearby, so when you're going away or traveling, you can put the shoes in those bags. If there are any scuffs, any dirt, any loss of colour, once again, take it to a specialist to get fixed. It doesn't cost that much, and it's better to preserve your shoes as well. And especially the base, and the heels, they go quite often, so get them fixed as soon as possible. I've also gotten, for some of my shoes, rubber soles, so it's more comfortable, because sometimes the soles are so thin, especially some of the designer shoes, that it hurts when you walk on the streets. And it used to be really bad in Europe. Like when I used to be in London, you walk on the normal paths and your feet would ache. So if you wear those rubber soles, that's great. It looks after your shoes for longer as well. It might not keep... it's not sellable. You won't be able to sell those shoes because you've put an extra sole onto the shoes. But if you're keeping it, then that's a good thing for you. And even with designer clothes, certain clothes don't need to be hung. So, woolies, your cardigans, your jumpers, they don't need to be hung, because they will lose shape if you do. If you do want to put them on a hanger, there is a special way to hang it, which I can demonstrate to you later. But most of the time it should be folded, and it should be folded along the seams of the item, so that it doesn't lose shape. Another thing that I do a lot with, especially with delicate clothes, is I have a steamer, which is the best investment I've had. Like, it removes the wrinkles. There's no chance of me burning the clothes, or the maid burning the clothes if she decides to iron them. And it makes sure that the clothes last for longer as well. And I also put it, sometimes, you've worn an item and it's a bit sweaty. Use the steamer. That seems to get rid of it. It doesn't get smelly. So that's a good way to look after your clothes as well. And finally, storage of seasonal clothes. So, you have your winter and your summer clothes. We have less of winter, but, when you go away on holiday. But when you're putting them away, put the clothes that are dry clean only together in one section, and the ones that are not in another section, so they don't get mixed up, because they're, some are delicate or have special care needs to be taken with them. And also, if they are very delicate, wrap them in acid-free paper again, and then put them in a box and store them away. So these are some of the things to do to look after these designer clothes, and any clothes actually. But it's something that needs to be done to preserve them, and it ensures that you don't buy more clothes as well, because you're looking after them. Yes, so those are my tips for today.
Awesome. Right, and if you'd like to know more, if you'd like to see Shalina's tips on how to fold clothes properly, hang them, etc., you can reach out to her by looking for Declutter Me on all of the social media, or visiting declutterme.com/contact. And we'll see you next week. Bye.